And I've been chilling, watching the ocean with you. Baby, up with a slow motion crew. And we up in our growlings when people change, but not us. And we just chilling, kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be soaked to the skin in the mall soon. I know she got the good vibes when seasons change, but we're the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes sound funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak
Every stitch, every print, every detail, made to perform. Trusted by the grind, from grassroots to championship halls. Build your team store. We're the brand that wins. SpartanWare, trusted by the grind.
RSCast is the stats that we're bringing. Stream alerts, you know that's where we're pinging. The usual plays and the fails that we're showing. How's the week gone? It's what we're reviewing. Yeah. Rhino cast in the flesh, he's made the attendance. Paying for him, drained all of our receipts account balance. He's made it big now, casting the main event action. Does it cast for us now? Does it not give him satisfaction? Pegasus is his name, but of course we can't forget the sir. Team Surrey haven't missed you as AGM, it was a blur. Didn't take long to win franchise of the season without you. Finally got yourself a haircut, that's so long way overdue. Well, we got ourselves a real life lunchbox on screen. With Kingsman around, there's one less player on your team. Dan Skew didn't want to run it back, not surprised man. Even scared of cash so fast, he flew straight to Japan. Lastly, Ma, please do us a favor and don't break the stream. If you didn't have VMix, you wouldn't even be on the team. RSCast is the stats that we're bringing. Stream alerts, you know that's where we're pinging. The usual plays and the fails that we're showing. How's the week gone? It's what we're reviewing.
Welcome back, everybody, to RSCast for Season 17. We are in Week 2. We've made it 2 weeks in a row, which officially makes us the most consistent podcast related to RSC in the world. That's right, just as they're saying, I'm calling you out. We have got our wonderful two panelists next to me. And first, we have got the man who lost the RSCast derby to my right-hand side. And to my left, we've got a man with a very serious B in his bonnet. Welcome to the stream, Sir Pegasus and Kingsman Gas, as always. Pegasus, come on. The sooner we get it out, the sooner we can move on. Yesterday's game, talk to us about it.
That appears to be a week 3 game, and if I read the bottom of the screen, it's a week 2 recap, so you're going to have to wait 7 days for that, and that's assuming that this RSCast consistency can continue, because it has never been like this before. We've done 2 weeks in a row. That hasn't happened since there was order in RSCast. That hasn't happened since the Tavish days.
Wow, can't believe it. Bring back Tavish, I say, to be fair. Bring us back to some description of consistency. Kingsman, I mentioned it at the start of the stream. I want to know from you, right? This is us formally calling out just as a saying, right? Us three versus Bromeo, Greybeard, +1, who they regularly have on their stream. Who's winning?
Oh, surely us, right?
Surely it's got to be, hasn't it?
Right? Yeah, Rhino carries. Yeah, Rhino carries, surely. Without a doubt, Rhino would carry that team.
I'm the anchor of the team, right? I'm pulling us down as far as I possibly can. But, like...
Who's their best player? Like, Pyro J, maybe?
I was going to say, it's probably...
I think he's pretty decent. I don't know how good Maxfish is. Well, actually, he doesn't show up on ours. Just saying. Anyway, we'll have to work that out one day. That is actually... If anyone is listening to this, that is such good off-season content. I feel like we actually should do it.
Is this an official call out?
I think this is an official call out. Clip this, send it to them. Come on.
Official.
Let's have it. Let's back ourselves, boys. Absolutely. Yeah. I have no idea how on earth we would be able to pull that off. But if we can, we should definitely stream it on the RSC channels. Mm-hmm. Right. You know, every now and again, we come onto an RSCast, and Mal's just added something that I don't really know what it is. And I kind of just have to read it on the left-hand side. So why is Mal so cool? We're gonna have to talk about it, I guess. I don't even know if he's got like a clip to show us as to why he's so cool. If he does, play it now. No. Okay, good to know. So we just have to discuss this. All right. No, actually, no. I'm steering the ship.
End of segment. He is
thank
end
you.
of segment.
Yeah.
Right, we can move on.
We can move on to our weekly recap as we move on to what you're actually here for on the RS cast. I have also just realised that I actually don't steer the ship. It is Mal pressing the buttons behind. So if he doesn't move on, we don't move on. It's pretty much that simple.
You learned last week you do not steer the ship. To be fair.
Absolutely, yeah. Very, very much so. Try to take one iota of control over this podcast, and it just blows up in my face every time. But we will move on to the weekly recap. And now that the cross-conference matches are done and dusted with, we've got no shenanigans. It's all in conference, and we can go right the way through everything that we need to talk about. So, as always, we are going to start in the Academy tier. We start on the left-hand side, which is the Glacies Conference, and we start with Sir Pegasus. What happened last week?
Well, first of all, there was only one team that managed to go double win this week. There were plenty of trades all across the table, and it already looked like this was going to be a close tier, but already Team Serene Unito immediately flexed their muscles with a 3-1 win versus Ascendants and a 3-1 win versus Anubis. Even teams that were able to land sweeps weren't able to go win and win. First of all, you'd look at Rain, who actually had a perfectly neutral week despite sweeping SCR Ascendants. They ended up getting swept by Drengir, and Drengir, they got themselves a sweep. Let's see how they went on in their other game. It's right on top. It's Teutonai taking them 4-0 down themselves. So it was all over the place for a few of these teams. Only Team Serene had a little bit of consistency. There is another sweep, so I will make sure to mention it. It was 4-0 in favour of Godalians and Bliss. They were one of those teams that were able to go completely 2-0 in the opening week, and this time, unfortunately, were one of those teams that had to place Unito. So they did take down a game. Although getting that game might actually end up proving significant a little bit later down the line. Riffle, despite losing to that sweep, did manage to pick themselves up a 3-1 victory as well. But then now we move on to the teams that went double loss. Livens losing against Purpose and losing to Kyoto. Both 3-1 games, so still being able to pick up points. But overall, a very chaotic second week.
Yeah, all a bit topsy-turvy. Not too many sweeps either. Lots of teams picking up points. Over on the Ignis side, though, maybe even more so. Isn't that right, Kingsman?
Yes, that is right. And similar to the Glacies Conference, only one team goes double win this week. And that is Bro getting a 4-0 sweep onto Hayes and a 3-1 win onto Arconics, who are looking really good going into it. Got a 4-0 sweep against Ascent, their first win of the campaign. But then they faced Bro, and they just won a match. It was a 3-1 win for Bro in the end. One game off that perfect week, but not to be. Now we have one team already standing out in this conference to be draw merchants, and that is Calidus. They went double draw in the first week, and a good draw against Husky, but then a draw maybe to forget against Hayes. Hayes, the only team not to have picked up a series win yet, and Calidus have dropped 2 games essentially against them. Will it punish them with the shorter league play format? Well, we'll see as we get towards the end. But a lot more draws this week. And, well, the table's certainly shifting up with only 3 teams being left unbeaten.
There we go. So what do those results mean? Let's take a look at the Academy standings as we move into what we're going to find out about what that means for the conferences at the start of this week. And I think
I should boo, but this is not a boo moment. I don't know what to do here. This is stunning.
Well, either way, Pegasus, talk us through what's happened.
Is Pegasus here?
Pegasus?
If it seems not, I'll take
it.
over.
I accidentally muted myself when I was coughing earlier.
Okay, wonderful stuff.
But no, you're gonna just have to close your eyes and imagine for this next one, because I do have the results with 16 games played. It is just not showing on this screen right now. So Anubis are actually top of the table. They've got 13 game wins. They were off to a perfect start this season with 3 wins in a row, but it was just eventually dismantled by that Team Serene team a little bit later. Tonight, with their neutral record, got 11 game wins this week. Actually, I believe it was a win and a draw for them. It was Drengir that was a win and a loss, both being sweeps. Yanito, though, no problems for them. It was a 6-2 showdown. They picked up 11 game wins total, so they are equal alongside tonight that are in second. And Not Purpose that are in fourth, because actually we dropped down a game win for Mistaken and Berserkers right next to each other, taking up 4th and 5th spots with 10 game wins between them. And then this is where the gaps really start to show. Riffle, 2 game wins down with sitting themselves in 6th place, so that is 8 wins overall. Rain in 7th with 7 game wins. Coyote in 8th with 6 game wins. Livens in 9 with 5 game wins. And unfortunately, it's been a bit of a rocky start for Ascendants because it says 2 on your screen. They are missing 4 games, but that game was a sweep. So they are actually still on 2 game wins at the bottom of the table.
There you go. So, unfortunately, as you say, a rough start for SCD, but there are teams towards that top of the table that are looking to even maybe extend at the top going into week 3. We'll talk about exactly who they will be playing a little bit later on, but we can swap over to the Ignis conference and we can take a look at exactly what has happened over there from the week 2 matchups. And Kingsman, talk to us about this absolutely bizarre week coming out of Ignis.
Well, I can do what Pegasus did, and if you close your eyes, I can take you through it of how it is properly formed, because I have the league table next to me on my left, but you will have to do some imagining. So, Bro are not top, but they do have 12 wins. Origin picked up 6 game wins this week to go ahead of them on goal difference. 12 wins for both of those. Then Calidus are in third. So we already, between second and third, have a gap of 4 games, which is monumental already in week 2. So it looks like we'll only have 2 teams fighting for that first place spot. Then you have Calidus, Trickery, and Arconix, who are on 8 wins. Yes, Arconic are in 9th here, but they picked up a 4-0 in their second game. That propels them all the way up to 5th. Then Husky, they picked up a 3-1 loss to add to that result, to put them on 7 wins. I should say Unitox, because I know I'm going to get that wrong, are on 7 wins as well, 6th and 7th. Ascent, well, they were looking good on 4th on 6 wins. They're now in 8th now that all the rest of the games have been played on 6 wins. Then you have Shell, who got swept again and fall down to 9th with 5 game wins. And Hayes, still at the bottom because teams can't have negative games.
Very true. Very true. Thank you very much for all of those updates, Kingsman. Yeah, so the table, as we say, right now does look a little bit different online than it does right here, but Kingsman talking you through all of those changes that you need to know. Thank you very much. So moving in to week number 3, let's see who is playing who gets the opportunity to climb up the table, maybe playing against teams that are in a similar position to what they are. And for Glacies, once again, Sir Pegasus, talk us through some of the big matches.
Well, already Mistaken have played all of their week's games last night, assuming that they were all scheduled correctly, and they did go through. But they played both Coyote and Rain, and after a week like that, you'd hope that they were able to pick up some good results there. I'm sure someone in chat will be able to give us some context here for Academy. Usually the Academy guys are absolutely on it, which comes to RSCast, so thank you very much for that. Oh, sorry. So true. I forgot. How did it go last night?
I don't know in what order, but they went 7-1, I believe.
Ooh,
wow,
there we go.
okay.
Big recovery week for them then, actually. And Coyote were one of those teams that you'd really want to beat to climb yourself up. That's a very good result for them. But in the 11th, that is tomorrow, I believe. It's tonight versus Yanito and Riffle versus Ascendants. And then there's a bit of time put in between, but Yanito and tonight will play again. This time, that final game against Rain, and the first one for Drengir. They'll have a 2-day break to play against Riffle a little bit later down the line. But on the 14th, It'll be Coyotal versus Anubis. Gadalians looking to get themselves back into winning ways. They've only taken one loss so far this season, so they want to make sure that those scales are not tipped. And then finally, 2 games in one day for DSQ's Livens, taking down both SCR, potentially the team that's on 2-game wins at the moment, and one of the scariest teams in the league's Anubis right afterwards.
Dangerous week for some teams, but a lot of exciting matchups coming up in week 3 that could determine a lot in the table. And the same can be said for the Ignis Conference, Kingsman.
Yeah, big game at the bottom of the table has already happened. Ascent versus Hayes. Both of those 2 teams are a bit of a way off of the top 6. So a good result for either of them would be refreshing. Hayes need it, I'd say, at this point in the season, considering after you play 1 game this week, I believe you're halfway through the season. So, halfway point, you want to be near the top 6 if you're looking to reach past league phase. The other game played was Origin versus Unitox, and based on form, Origin should be good enough to get past Unitox, but only time will tell. Now, looking at the week that I've highlighted is for Bro. They played Trickery in 4th, who 8 wins, they went double tie last week. So they really need to push on if they want to get that top 3. And beating a team like Bro is a statement you need to put yourself into the top 3. Along with that, they've got Husky, who have a tough week themselves, so need to pick up wins if they're going to keep up this top 6 fight. The only other game I picked up was Arconics, who have to play against Husky as well. Again, a 5th versus 6th matchup, 1 game win separating those. And at those points, these types of matchups are critical, because if you're taking a 4-0 sweep onto another team like that, then you certainly strengthen your play-in bid.
Yeah, and again, it's funny to think that we're going into week 3 and teams are already thinking about play-ins and playoffs, but that's where we are with a 5-week season. We look forwards to the rest of it, of course. Moving on then, by the end of this week, we will be over halfway in the season, which is crazy to think about. Let's take a look then at Prospect and see the results from week number 2. As always, we start in the Glacies Conference, which means that we are going to Sir Pegasus for the updates on what's happening in Glacies Prospect.
Scary how quickly this is all going. Remember, if we all show up here next week, Tuesday, that's more than half of the league play weeks done, which is, again, very, very impressive for recent RSCast. But there are a few teams here that did go double win. As you'll notice, there wasn't a single sweep in the entire Glacies Conference. So that just goes to show you, again, how tight some of these conferences really are. And it was hard to see that tested last week with all the cross-conference shenanigans, but now it's starting to really come to light here. Umagis were one of those teams who went double win. It was 2-3-1s versus both Impact and Nenettle. And it's another low-tier Team Serene team doing extremely well. A 3-1 versus Gadalians Boulder, followed by a 3-1 versus Aztec and Nenettle. Should help them climb their way up the table, where every single point seems to matter. However, it was neutrality for 2 orgs, starting off with DSQ's Keanu, who drew against Boulder, and the other team that just drew this week, Vortic Tide, who ended up drawing against Thunder alongside that, though not completely ruining the week for Deathcloud, who also managed to get themselves a 3-1 win versus Devotion. Which unfortunately did contribute to what was quite a bad week for Mistaken yet again in one of these lower tiers. That is a 2-6 week for them after another loss versus Laskyri. I can't remember how I pronounced that last time, but that's what we're going to go for. And if it's wrong... Okay.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you very much for that update, Pegasus. Yeah, no sweeps over on the Glacies side on Prospect, which is very interesting and a very, very good week for that conference in that case. The same cannot be said for Ignis, though, Kingsman.
Yeah, 3 sweeps, and there was only 2 teams that were ever on for an 8-0 week. It was Spark and Snap getting respective sweeps over Core and Occultus. Well, they faced each other in the second matchup of the week, and it was Snap snapping up an 8-0 week to push themselves right to the top. Brilliant week for them. 8-0, complete perfection. Not much more they can do there. to keep themselves going. But apart from that, a good few weeks, only one team going double loss, and that was Embark. And Kohli Watusi got the better of them in their first game, and China's got the better of them in the second game. It was looking good for them. They went equal in the first week, did Embark, but a double loss will be a huge setback at this time. We don't have many draws, I think. We only have 3 again, same amount of draws as sweeps, and no team going double draw. So we're not going to have any draw merchants by the looks of things in the prospect here.
Yeah, makes makes potentially a little bit of a change. I seem to remember one in the last season, but not this time. And we'll see if that is the case as we move into the standings. And also, by the way, if people were drawing pretty much every game with a 5-week series, then maybe that's not... You know what? I don't mind it. I like it. Yeah, absolutely. So we can still see from the top, we've got Prospect and Glacies and Pegasus. It looks a little bit different, but the information in front of us is correct.
And that, at the end of the day, is what RSCast is all about. So that is perfect. Correct. Thunder sit at the top of the table with 12 game wins. They've been able to give themselves some distance, and Yaskari have been shut down a little bit by the draw they picked up this week, but they also got themselves a win. So that puts themselves in equal standings with High Flyers Yokai, both on 10 game wins to close out what is that guaranteed playoff point in top 3. Tide will take up 4th place alongside Umagis in 5th with 9. And that's very significant, especially here for that Berserkers roster, because you notice 9 game wins, but if you remember, they went double win this week. So that's 6 out of their 9 wins coming from week 2 alone. So potentially a team on the up, or potentially a team that couldn't handle cross-conference, but I don't quite remember how those results lined up in week 1. DSQ Keanu have 8 game wins to round off that 6th place and play-ins qualification spot. SCR Impact sit just outside with 7. Then Boulder, Devotion, and Nenettle follow with 6, 5, and 5 as their game wins. Mistaken really did have a poor week, but as you can see, with how close all of those game wins are, it still leaves a lot to be desired for in 3 weeks of play.
Yeah, it certainly does, and it also looks like we are really going to have to start learning how to pronounce the name Iaskyri, because they are really playing very well in the first couple of weeks here in RSC. Let's change over then to the Ignis conference in Prospect, and Kingsman Gas, talk us through it.
I will say before, and one thing I like now that we've added to these lovely new graphics is it shows the last 5. That's something we don't have on the previous graphics, so spectators can see how their respective teams are doing, but taking a fiery lead up front is Snap. 8-0 week does lead to good things, and especially when it's over a team in 3rd place who are looking so strong. 9-3 both teams were before they met, but Snap have taken the chance and they have absolutely excelled at it. Great win for them. Then you have Fenrir on 10, Spark on 9, then 3 teams rounding out the top 6 in Obscurity, Tomfoolery, China's, all on 8 wins, all going positive so far. That's a very strong conference indeed. Then you got Ankoli Watusi, Embark and Core, all on 6 wins through 7, 8, and 9. Double loss week for Embark, not doing them any good, and Core are yet to pick up a series win. So that shows how crucial every single game is here in this best of this 4-game format. And then Occultus are at the bottom, the second team not to find a single series win yet in the Ignis prospect.
There you go. Unfortunate for Occultus, but maybe week 3 will bring a change in fortunes for them. Let's see the fixtures coming up for this week. We're going to start, as we always do, in Glacies. And Sir Pegasus, talk us through some of the big games coming up in Prospects this week.
Who won the Nettle playing for the first game of the week, Rhino? Would you help me out here?
Iaskyri.
Iaskyri. Thank you very much. Well, there you go. Aztec and Nettle will be playing Iaskyri at some point this week. I think I did it a little bit better that time. I think I'm a quick learner.
I think you did, yeah.
Hey, that's just myself. Thank you very much. Yokai will play 2 days in a row. The first one's going to be against Mistaken, who are on a poor run on form, currently sitting at 9th place on the table. And then they'll go on to play Tide, who's the team on an equal game win as them. So this is going to be quite a test. Sorry, 1 game win behind them on the table. So this is going to be quite the test early on in the week here for them. But if they are able to pick up both results, not only will they be winning those matches that you have to be winning to stay at the top of the table, but they'll have the opportunity to also slow down another team that's looking to contest them. And there's no home and away matches anymore with only a 5-game week season. So that does put a lot of pressure on every single matchup. But next, it's SCR Impact versus Thunder. Thunder currently sitting at the top of the table. You don't have much opportunity to give yourself a gap on this table, again, because of a short week season. But if you are able to, there isn't much time to be caught up. So this is going to be another game that Thunder are really going to make sure they can squeeze as many points out of. This is then followed by Keanu versus Devotion, Nettle versus Boulder on the 14th, Humagus versus Ayaskari on the 15th, Boulder versus Tide on the very same day, as is Impact versus Keanu. And then finally, it is going to be Imagis versus Thunder. Once again, a huge game for DeathCloud to potentially push themselves ahead of the league table and come very close to already guaranteeing themselves a play-in/playoff spot.
Yeah, it's an important week for DeathCloud, but it's actually an important week for all teams across the league, of course. We keep talking about it because it is so important. We're not used to these shorter seasons, so every game really does matter. And what games specifically, Kingsman, are going to matter this week in Ignis?
Well, I can tell you one of the games that's already been played. I could pretty much play out in my head how that's gone. Snap versus Occultus, versus 10th. Well, if the stats rely on us show anything, I think Snap would have snapped a 4-0 off of Occultus there. But this is Rocket League. We know that it doesn't happen as it should.
True.
But if we look through the rest of the games, today we have Obscurity versus China's. Teams both 8-8. So picking up wins is crucial to stay in the hunt for those top 3 spots. Bear in mind, they are only 1 away. Obscurity have a really tough second game, though, in Snap. Snap, the informed team and the team to beat, I think, at the moment. So they really need to get a result there. Spark will be looking to push back, though, getting swept last week. They play Tomfoolery, a team 1 game below them, a must win if they want to keep that 3rd place. And Embark, who are looking to pick themselves up after a poor week last week. But apart from that, not much games. I think there's one other game we can pick up on, which is a 9th versus 10th. Core versus Occultus. If Occultus can pick up any sort of momentum from that Snap game, I don't think they'll be able to. But if they can, they must go on and beat Core, just to put themselves away from the bottom.
It's a very important couple of games, couple of weeks coming up in the Ignis Conference. Already getting into crunch time, and it's only week 3. Pretty crazy, but so much can change, so much can shuffle around as we move into the next week. And as we move up into the next division, we're going to be looking at Chally now, up in the Challenger tier. And once again, looking at both of the conferences. All conferences in conference this time around. We don't need any of that cross-conference nonsense. And so Pegasus, you can talk us through Glacies.
Well, I'll focus on the 2 sweeps that we have on the Glacies side, because there weren't many sweeps overall in Challenger, it looks like, when I look ahead at Kingsman's part. But Frowls were able to sweep Canaans, and Atmos were able to sweep Trabe. So you look at those 2 teams and think very high potential for them both to go double win this week. Except they then ended up playing each other. You can see it at the top of your screen. It was Atmos versus Frowls to try and secure the double win, potentially put themselves on a 7-1 or an 8-0, and Atmos ended up earning themselves that 7-1. So a vital game to be played on Tuesday there. It was actually one that set themselves up for those following matchups a little bit later down the week. But they were not the only team to go double win. Shamali were able to go 3-1 versus DSQ's Canaans and against SCR Kaizen as well. It's third time in a row. You might get a little bit of deja vu, but Team Serene have gone double win this week in the lower tiers. Psycho managing to take down Shiva's 3-1 and Trabe 3-1 as well. It has been a fantastic week overall for the organisation, and we'll see if that changes once we go into those higher tiers. I don't know either, so there's going to be absolutely no ruining there whatsoever. Swell also managing to go positive. They managed to beat Dynasty and get themselves a draw versus SCR, one of those teams that were beaten by Azteca. So unfortunately, they'll be going negative.
Yeah, it's interesting to bring up Team Serene going 3-1 and 3-1. 2 victories, of course, but you also have to think that they have lost out on 2 of those games. That, you know, they could have gone maybe sweep, maybe been a little bit higher up the table. We'll see what that's done to their position. As something has updated, and Kingsman, I'm certain you have the scores on your side, so you can still talk us through it.
Yeah, lots of draws, it seems, in Challenger Ignis this week. Lots of 0-0s.
Lots of draws.
No team wanted to gain any ground. But I don't have the results, but I do have who won, tied, or drawn. So that's going to have to be the best that you get out of me so far. I know there was only one sweep, and that belonged to Mischief. They picked up a 4-0. Oh, and it's all gone. Hopefully you'll come back.
Come on.
Hold on. Oh.
No. Mischief swept Eclipse. That was a very, very crucial game. It was Eclipse's first loss of the season. So a great win for Mischief there. But then they picked up a tie in their game against Snow. Really, you'd expect the result to be the other way around. Them sweeping Snow and drawing with Eclipse. But that's how it played out. One team went double win, though. It was Amarok. They beat Qantas, and they also beat out... I'm not even going to attempt to say that name. To keep them winless. Another one, I think there's 3 teams in this tier that are winless, and one of them is Snow, who have picked up 4 draws along the way so far. So draw merchants in Charlie confirmed, but I wonder what they'll do when it gets to best of 5, if they even make the postseason.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one, as we can now move away from the everybody equal image, and we can go and see what is happening with the standings currently. Looking at Glacies first, and I believe we do have all of the details on this one. So Pegasus, talk us through it.
Well, it is a DSQ team again at the top of the table, this time with 12 game wins out of 16, which is an unbelievable start to the season. And I say start, but I use that rather loosely because we're already 40% done. A 75% win rate is maintained. Can't quite say the same about Vortic, but it is still a very impressive run with 10 game wins out of 16. And then this is where you can see all those traded 3-1 games and those few draws that have been sprinkled in as well. Because we have got all 3, Chamali, Psycho, and Frowls on 9 game wins at the moment. 6th place is Trabe with 7, who are going to have to compete to hold on to that play-in spot versus Canaans, versus Shivas, versus Kaizen, who are only 1 game win away. Bottom of the table, surely you don't have to worry about them either. You do. Mistaken Dynasty, only 2 away from that spot. So this is has potential to be the most flip-floppy conference out of the entirety of RSC. There is so much that can change here at all the important parts as well of the table.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the closest conferences that you are going to see in the entirety of RSC, let alone just the Challenger tier. But speaking of, let's go and see the counterpart. Let's go and see what's happening in Ignis. And we'll see exactly what's going on with this conference. Kingsman, it looks pretty much just as close, if not closer.
It's not closer, but it's still very close. Amarok went double win, and they deserve that 12 game wins at the top. Then it's Mischief on 11, keeping Amarok on their toes here. Then it'll be Rise and Pulse on 9 game wins and picking up 9 respectively. Just 2 behind Mischief, so very much all to play for still. Then you've got Eclipse and Snow on 8. Very different seasons. One's gone 2 wins, 1 tie, 1 loss. The other all ties. Shows why the games matter. Then you've got Ember on 7 wins, Qantas and Bro on 6, and then Fujiyoshi at the bottom on 5, with both teams, Bro and Fujiyoshi, having the same record but different game wins.
Thank you very much, Kingsman. A very close conference once again. As you say, maybe not quite as close then as Lacey's, but still all to play for going into week 3, that is for sure. As we move across then into what's going to happen in week 3, what are the matchups that we should be looking towards? And as usual, we'll start in the Glacies Conference, Pegasus. So please let us know in the Challenger tier this week, what can we expect from Glacies?
Well, one of these matches isn't about expectation because it's already happened. It was myself on Godalian Shivas taking down Death Cloud Atmos, and they ended up playing a sub game. Some unknown player who I believe actually has a prospect CMV called Mal stepped up, and he had an absolutely blinding series, not going to lie to you. He went 4-0 in that game. We got somewhat destroyed and didn't score until game 3. But today, there is also Canaans versus Trabe, which we might actually have a result for. Who knows? If someone here in chat would be able to report it. But they are 3 game wins away from each other, and that is going down from, I believe it is 7th to 6th. So actually, sorry, only 1 game win between each other, and that is to compete for being in that play-in spot. You do want to get that safety down early because there's no such thing as early in a 5-week season. Swell take on Chamali tomorrow and then play the day afterwards against Thralls. Dynasty will take on Psycho. Of course, one of those teams that has gone double win this week is Psycho, and Dynasty, I believe, were one of those teams that went double loss. So a chance to turn around their season in the most unexpected of circumstances. That might be one to look out for. Kaizen are going to take on Trib. They're another one of those teams that are sitting on 6 game wins compared to Trib's 7. So again, just looking to try and hold the fort and maintain their spot. They'll also play Frowls just that day afterwards. Swell will take on Psycho on that day on the 14th. Dynasty and Atmos will play on the 15th. And then us at DSQ will round off with a matchup against Canaans, who currently sits on the same game wins, but who knows how much that would change by that point.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. So that's your Glacies matches coming up for this week. Let's take a look at Ignis then. Kingsman, talk us through the games coming up.
Well, my game to watch, I mentioned that Rise were 2 games off of Mischief. They play each other. In the fact, Mischief got to keep Amarok on their toes at the top of the table. And, well, Rise have the chance to do both. A double win week for Rise could be the thing that sees them go top of the table this week, because they play both first and second in what has to be the biggest week of Rise's season. Because they lose both of those, they could slip down the table like a slip and slide. However, they get some good results, and they might reel in those in the top 2 and give themselves a chance at that final top spot. But again, it's all to play for, and with sub games being a bigger part, you don't know which rosters are going to show up. Anyway, the other games I looked at, Snow finally I think have the best chance to get off of their draw merchant tag as they play Bro and Qantas, both teams below them, both teams struggling to find form at the minute. So it's a very good chance for Snow to push on, with Amarok's other game being against Ember this week, where Ember, they haven't picked up a game win or a series win, since the first week. So it's a good chance for Amarok to push on the top if Mischief fail to get a win at Fujiyoshi.
Yeah, there you go. So that's what you can expect from week 3 from both Glacies and Ignis this week. A big week. I'm going to keep saying it. It's important that you get as many games as you possibly can in your series that you're playing this week. Even if you go 3-1 instead of 4-0, that could have playoff and play-in implications. So it's important. Every game matters. Over halfway then, let's go and take a look at the rival games from week number 2 and all of the results that came off the back of them. Glacy's first, Pegasus, what were some of the surprising scores from this week's rival tier?
It's surprising more if you look across all of the tiers right now, because Team Serene have done it again. It's another double win week, this time with a sweep included versus Gadalian's Floki and a 3-1 versus Azteca Tizok. I'm starting to get a little bit concerned that the new intro for RSCast might have been correct, because I do not remember a week like this for Team Serene back when I was part of their management team. But they are absolutely smashing it so far this season. But I'm going to bring in one of my co-casters' favourite phrases tonight. We got some draw merchants, ladies and gentlemen. We do have some draw merchants. It starts off with Death Cloud going 2-2 versus SCR Phoenix and 2-2 with Vortic. They weren't the only team to maintain an even record. Carl's did as well. A 2-2 versus Neat Scath and a 2-2 versus Caligo. We'll leave the table looking interesting a little bit later. But Scath themselves were also draw merchants. They ended up drawing against Floki, giving the team that got swept by Shinjiro still 2 points to work with this week. But there was one more sweep that didn't get a mention. It was Phoenix going 4-0 versus Identity. Identity, though, were able to get some games back with a 3-1 versus Tizuk. Overall, another very chaotic week all round, though for 3 out of the 10 teams, it might have not necessarily felt like the case.
Yeah, unfortunately not. Over on the Ignis side, Kingsman, only one sweep across the whole week yet again. Interesting goings on over on your side of the field.
Yes, exactly. It was Thread to pick that up. One of 3 teams, in fact, to go double win. I think most of these conferences so far have only had 1. But now we have 3. And it's Thread, Mirage, and Flame, all picking up great weeks. Flame, a great bounce back. They got 0-8 last week, and I flame them for it. But look at them now, picking themselves up out of the bottom, and a 6-2 week. Same for Mirage. But Thread had to one-up them and go 7-1. It's a great week for them in a week that only has 2 draws, and is Raiju Focus and Unitox versus Aptus. Both of those teams would have been looking for better, but it still keeps Unitox unbeaten in their streak at the top. And Cuzzies and Nightfall will... Oh, there's actually 3 teams. Marvel, Nightfall, and Cuzzies, as a result, all go double loss here. I've never seen so many double win and so many double loss teams. But Cuzzies are the only team to be 4 losses in a row. Nightfall close enough on 3. So both of those teams needing a pickup in next week.
Yeah, and we will talk about where they can pick those points up in a little bit. But first, we've got to see what these scores did to the standings in the tables. And we'll first take a look at the Glacies Conference. A couple of sweeps might send a couple of teams to the moon, Pegasus. Has it done that?
Phoenix, though, they picked up a draw alongside that sweep that they managed to pick themselves up. So they do not end up flying high and away from Shinjiro on this table. Instead, they're going to have to hold an equal spot on 13 game wins. That was completely earned again from Team Serene, going 7-1. What a great record they were able to pick up. Scath and Caligo sit next to each other on the table. This was a double draw week for Scath, so Caligo were able to just chase them down a little bit to try and hold down this fort. Carl's and Identity follow up with 9 game wins themselves to round off what is the Plains qualification period. And there is a little bit of a gap. It's 2 game wins. It doesn't sound like a lot, but again, in a 5-week season, every single one counts. Tizok are going to have to try and climb back in these final 3 weeks. Vortex and Floki follow on 6 with potential to get themselves back in the race. And I might be calling it a bit too early here, but for Vortic Riptide, it is looking very, very unlikely unless there was some miracle performances and a huge change in form that they will make it to a playing spot, only having enough wins to account for a sweep. Instead, it was actually a draw and 2 3-1 losses that got themselves those 4.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's unfortunate right now for Riptide, but once again, it may take an uptick in form for them, but it may also take a bit of a downturn in form from some other teams above them. It's not unheard of, though. It's absolutely possible. It could happen for them. You'll have to stay tuned to RSCast over the next few weeks and see if they're able to pull off the great escape like Wolves are going to be able to do in the Premier League this season. Ooh. Moving on in the rival tier, let's take a look at the Ignis standings as we see who the movers and shakers from week 2 are, who is towards the top, who is towards the bottom, and Kingsman, we will be coming to you in just a moment when we're able to get those on the screen. There we go. And talk to us. Who's looking like contenders in Ignis?
Well, this is very much a table of 2 sides, I like to say. Thread and Unitox right at the top, 12 and 11, separating themselves from the chasing pack at the start. A great start for both of those. And believe it or not, Thread has picked up a series loss. So even all of that and to still be pushing their way up at the top is very impressive. Unitox are unbeaten and, well, they sit 1 game win behind. Then 3 games behind, you've got Aptus, Marvel and Mirage all on 8. Mirage, they went double win after a double loss first week. A great recovery for them as they push themselves up the table. And this is what I mean by it's sort of split in half. Because you've got those teams there and then the bottom 5, as I'm going to call them, all separated by 2 games. So you've got Raiju and Flame on 6 wins, rounding off essentially your final play-in spot. Then you've got Nightfall and Focus. Nightfall, who fell down the table massively with a double loss week this week. And Focus couldn't pick up a series win either on 5. Then Cuzzies, who have got 4 game wins, but have lost every single one. So it shows what it means to pick up at least 1 game in a series because they're still even in the hunt for top 6, only 2 games off, and they haven't even picked up a draw.
Wow, that is quite incredible, really, when you think about it, but very much still in the hunt, absolutely. So we'll see who they need to pick up some games against as we look towards the week 3 current games to be played. And we'll start, as we always do, with the Glacies action. Coming up this week, what have we got, Sir Pegasus?
Well, first of all, it's the game that has already been played. The SQ Calico versus Floki, which is a team which is 2 teams that have some separation on the table at the moment. This is from 4th all the way down to 9th. But there's only 4 games in between them. So depending on the results of that game, they might be able to chase themselves back in for those playing spots and leapfrog the likes of Vortex and Tizok that are just outside that mark. Phoenix will play Shinjiru. This is the big one. This is played today. It's the 2 top teams on the table, both with equal game wins right now. Please tell me that this has not been that this has been played already and it has not been a draw, because this is really one to try and shake up the results in Glacies' rival. This is going to be followed up by Riptide versus Floki. We've just had one matchup. That was the 2 top teams on the table. Well, this is at the tail end. This is currently 9th versus 10th playing against each other. So for Riptide, a chance to not only get themselves into the conversation, but ruin the run for Floki as well. Identity will play Shinjiru, which our Team Serene will back themselves in that one. SCR Phoenix take on Neat Scaff as they try to hold that top of the table as that battle continues to cook up. Riptide play Carls, Vortex on the 13th play Identity, and Caligo play Tizok. These are all a lot of fights near the middle portion of the table where one bad week for any one of these teams could completely drop them out of contention. Vortex will play Carls on the 15th, and Tizok will play Scaff as well on that Sunday. So every single match seems extremely important in every single one of these Glacies Conference matchups. So I feel like I might have been the one to luck out this time, but I'm sure that Kingsman will try and convince me otherwise.
Yeah, we will see over on the other side. By the way, just for people's information, it looks like the Shinjiru versus Phoenix game is not being played for another hour yet. So we won't have that information here on stream. Switching sides then, Ignis Conference. Kingsman, talk us through it.
Well, Pegasus, you think you may have lucked out, but I think I've got even luckier, maybe even Lady Luck on my side for this one, because I talked about one team that needed a revival in week 1, and I talked about a team that needed a revival in week 2. Flame picked up a double win last week, and they play Focus. They've already played Focus, in a matchup where one team needs a revival and one team needs to push on and show that the last week wasn't lucky. So it's a game for everything. And Mirage have a double game week against Aptus, who are same as them on 8 wins, and Flame, who have come off another double win week. So Mirage are going to need to be crucial and lethal to pick up momentum here, as we have 4 games tonight in the tier. And then later down the week, ladies and gentlemen, the 2 breakaway teams end up facing each other. It is Thread versus Unitox in a game that if Thread win, they will see themselves propel up the table and potentially out of sight, especially with Thread's other games being against Cuzzies, who have not even picked up a draw yet this season, and Unitox having Raiju, who are going to look to push forward. So a good week for Thread and a bit of a slip for Unitox, and we could be seeing play-in confirmation already, which feels crazy to say in week number 3, but the shorter season makes things so much more important, makes that every game win crucial. And to pick up on one final game, it is going to be Nightfall versus Raiju. Both teams 1 game apart, 6th versus 8th. Nightfall need to bounce back from a poor week, and Raiju want to push on. They didn't find a win and have only found 1 series win this season, a draw and a loss last week, so they'll be looking to bounce back from their poor form last week.
You know, I think maybe for next week's RS cast, A, if it happens, and B, if Mal has the time, is we need a 5-week season counter in the bottom left of the screen for the amount of times that we bring it up. It is important. It's very important that we continue to talk about it. But I do think it would be quite amusing to see how much time we talk about it. Yeah, let's move on then to the elite tier. We've got 2 tiers left. This one is a big one though, and the Glacies Conference is up first. So Pegasus, what happened in week 2?
Well, first of all, a few draws on your screen yet again. It's following a very similar pattern where I seem to get 3 draws and 2 sweeps, but I'm going to start off focusing on those sweeps. Let's look at where it's interesting. Giles managing to take down Nefelli with a perfect 4-0 result. Carbo to take down Cataract with a perfect 4-0 result. And you were talking about deja vu. You were talking about things I've already said during this broadcast. Here's another one. Both of these teams setting themselves up to go double win this week, but it cannot happen for both of them. It is unbelievable. They went on to play their own games. Carbo ended up drawing Giles and Nefelli. Sorry, Carbo ended up drawing Giles. Yes, that is correct. And Nefelli ended up getting swept by Giles as well. So, unfortunately, not going to be a perfect week for them after that draw alongside. And Carbo also only going to have to settle for that 6-2 results. But elsewhere in Elite, they got a draw versus Atlacoya, which means Atlacoya will go negative after losing to Team Serene. And hold on a minute, I mentioned a Team Serene win. How did the other matchup go? It was a draw. It is our first non-win for Team Serene this week. I will let them off. It is a draw. They are still going completely positive all around. You can see a little bit of changes happening on the other side of the screen. I'll just let that one go. But Team Serene haven't had a single loss so far this week. Is the correct storyline for them now. I really hope they didn't lose a game in Master, because this would be one of the best weeks that an org has ever had in RSC history. I can't remember anything like that from the time I've been in RSCast. But another team had a good week. It was SCR Guardians. They went 3-1 versus Cataract and 3-1 versus Mistaken Legacy, who this time isn't a double loss for that Mistaken side, because as mentioned before, they did beat Fig.
There you go. And, well, I think there's quite a lot of janitors over on the Ignis side, Kingsman, because all I see is sweeps.
Yeah, lots and lots of sweeps. Not a single draw come out in this week. And, well, what a storyline for some of these teams. You had 3 teams going double win. And, well, lots of good results. And thank you, Mal, for updating that Magnolia result for me, because I was going to use that as a talking point. But now that has been sorted out, because Brothers were one of the teams to go 8-0. Lots of teams were setting themselves up for 8-0 weeks, but ended up going 4-4. Magnolia being an example, 4-0 against Frecky. Then Darkness get a 4-0 onto them. Celery Sticks, 4-0 against Blaze. And then Brothers get a 4-0 onto them. And then Summit get a 4-0, but can only 3-1 against Link. So dare I say we might have a top-heavy side of the franchises here. But overall, good results all around for some of these teams. But the league table will truly show how they stand.
Yes, it will. Thank you very much for that segue, Kingsman, as we start to look towards the current standings after week 2, after 16 games of Rocket League played. Who is towards the top? Who is looking at the play-ins, playoffs? Who is looking from the bottom upwards? And so Pegasus, talk us through Glacies to start with.
It's a very defined top of the table. Giles on 12 game wins. That 75% win rate to hold down that top spot. It was actually draw and wins for all of the top 3 this week. Akami and Carbo now sitting on 10 game wins total. I'll be looking to try and keep out the likes of Nefeli and Guardians, Deathcloud and SCR, who are currently on 9 to hold down 4th and 5th. And this is one of my favourite bracket dynamics in league play, when we've got a drawn overlap on a barrier. Fig and Atlakoya between 6th and 7th place. So that is, of course, top 6 being a guaranteed play-in spot. One of them has to outperform the other this week if they want to confirm that for themselves. That's 7 game wins for the both of them. But that's not to say that Legacy, Aphrodite, and Cataract cannot keep up with them, because they're on 6, 5, and 5 respectively between them. So they could definitely jump up that spot. But one thing I'm really noticing, it appears to be that simply scoring more goals is what wins you elite. Only the top 4 teams being able to score over 40 goals for their respective teams, with 49 coming from Team Sereno Kami there. So very impressive records all round. And very impressive as well from our wonderful match admin team and stats, because 16 has been the lucky number for us today in the games played, and anything above that would mean someone did it on Monday or before RSCast has started, and it did create, you know, some awkward league tables to go over last week, but that just hasn't been the case this time, so I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you waited until Elite Tier to actually bring that up, but it has been the case all the way through.
It's been consistent.
And it's been consistent, and it's fantastic. Let's go the admins. Let's take a look at Ignis Conference, and let's see how things are looking over there in Kingsman Gas. I think, as per usual, you know, there's just got to be 16s all the way down this list, aren't there? Ah,
Yeah.
Goonie stole Freaky's games.
It's actually funny because I can tell you what's happened here. The Frecky Magnolia game that Mal had to draw on wasn't properly reported. So what's happened
that's
is
fine. That's fine.
That's fine.
Magnolia and Nguni have played a series and drawn it this week. But respectfully, all I'm going to say is, Flosi, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. This happened week 1. We told you not again, and you've done it again. I'm just disappointed. Anyway, moving on from that failure, it is Brothers at the top of the table on 12 wins, but they're not alone. They find Summit joining them in arms. They are just separated by 1 goal. because Summit have conceded one more goal. I mean, that is the tightest of margins you will see all season. Then it is Darkness on 10. Okay, this is going to be wrong, isn't it? I've got to try and figure out. I think Frecky got swept, so I believe Frecky are now below Darkness. Darkness are above Frecky on 10. Thank you, Mal. Appreciate it. Frecky are tied with Deception, and Goonie should be below Link and Celeritas because they've played an extra game. Magnolia should be above both of them. I mean, how am I keeping up? Should be above them. Yeah, swaps those two round as well. And then Blaze are at the bottom, and already 6 game wins off of top 6. Is that the furthest we've seen so far? And do I dare say, are they with another bad week this week? Are they gone completely?
Ooh, completely? No, I don't think so. It's going to depend on the other results around them. So yeah, they got 8, so they're 6 away right now. But they're still 2 weeks after this week, right? So there's still 16 games to be played after this week. I think mathematically they won't be, but
in theory,
I think probably yeah. I think it's going to be tough to get that one back. Or are they going to do
Wolves?
Hey, that's the question. That's what I want to know. I love, by the way, the fact that neither of you panelists have actually roasted me for saying that earlier. This is the best RScast that I've ever been a part of. Love to see.
I'm praying for the Great Escape. I can't lie.
I think it's wrong if you're not, right?
Yeah, like, it's got you. Come on.
Yeah. But as soon as a team gets beyond Derby's record, at that point you've then got to cheer for them to just get back up because it would be really cool to see.
Absolutely. Then it's
agreed.
Anymore, so who cares?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we might be seeing another Derby type record here in Elite if Blaze can't get their acts together. Let's take a look at how they're going to do that then as we move into the week 3 fixtures. And Glacies first, Sir Pegasus. What are the big games coming up for the Glacies Conference?
Oh, well, as big as they could possibly get, because we have got 4th versus 2nd that I can see has apparently already happened. Giles taking on Okami. Please, 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 someone in chat. You know what to do. I've said it so many times today. I am calling upon you to know how that result's landed. I also want to point out that Carbo have themselves a really tough week this time. They're going to have to play the 2 teams behind them 2 days in a row. So that is 3rd place Carbo playing Nefelli on the 12th and then playing SCR on the 13th. So a lot of potential movement again to happen at the top of the table. But let's have a look at the rest of the results here. It's Legacy versus Aphrodite near the bottom of the table. This is 8th versus 9th, which expects to happen today at some point. Of course, one of these teams, if they do end up losing, has a much higher chance to get themselves relegated. Not like Wolves, Touchwood, but hopefully like Tottenham. Cataract should play tomorrow versus Team Serene Akami. This is 2nd place all the way down to 10th, so a chance to cause some damage at the top of the table. Now that's a bit more Wolves-like. They'll also go on to play Nefelli on that next day, who seemingly have to double up against that really tough matchup versus Carbo. Legacy play at Lakoya on the 13th. Fig play Giles, and then at Lakoya play again the day afterwards. Both of them fresh after their matches the day before. It is SCR Guardians who will face them. And then finally on Sunday, it'll be Fig versus Aphrodite. Fig being one of those teams that are the gatekeepers of the top 6 versus Aphrodite that are just looking to climb and steal the spot away.
Thank you very much, Pegasus. And as far as we know, Giles and Okami went 2-2 in their game yesterday. So thank you very much, chat, for that information. Looking over onto the other side then, Ignis Conference, Kingsman Gas, what can we expect?
We can expect Summit and Blaze to have played last week.
Last Sunday, yeah, I think so.
Brilliant. Sunday.
Yeah, and Summit swept them. Blaze got swept.
Blaze got swept. So the team, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Team at the bottom getting swept. So 2-18 now. Do we reckon that puts them out of reach, maybe? of top 6? Because that's half the season gone and they're still 6 games off, considering they've only got 2 all season long. That's a question for next week once we go through these results. And Goody Vangolia already knows a 2-2, spoiled by Flosi this week for us. But looking down the rest of the week, the game to look out for in the whole of this, the 2 teams on 12 wins, Summit and Brothers, face off. Summit, well, technically now on 16, will look to push away from Brothers and extend their lead at the top, but Brothers will want to reel them back in, with their other game being against Link, who are struggling to find form in this point in the season. So a big week for those 2 teams. I mentioned Blaze could be gone, and Nguni have a perfect chance to put them in that position. However, they only picked up 1 series win. It's going to be a scrappy game, but Blaze need to pick up something if they are to even think about turning their season around. Looking through the rest of it, the other game I picked up was Darkness versus Deception. 10 game wins versus 9 game wins. It's third versus 5th. So a big week for them. And Deception in their double go up against Magnolia as well. That game should be easier for them. But the bigger focus is their game on Darkness, because that 3rd place spot is still up for grabs here in the Ignis Conference.
There you go. So that's everything you got to look forward to in the Elite division as we move forwards into week 3. But we have one final tier to go. It is, of course, Master tier, and we are starting with the Glacies Conference from the week 2 results. Pegasus, was it basically sweep or draw? No, Tempest had to ruin it.
This was an utterly insane week. Usually I highlight my favorite games coming from a tier, and I've basically just ended up highlighting every single one of them. This was a ridiculous week of Rocket League. Starting off, let's look at Gadalian's Zeus. They drew against Firein, and they drew against Team Serene Kazoku. So that's another win, tipped off their record. They're on 2 draws now out of all the games they played. How did their other match went? They got swept. DSQ Nox take down Team Serene. It had to go all the way to Master for it to be ruined, the perfect record. But overall, this is unbelievable scenes from them. All wins except for 2 draws and 1 loss, albeit a sweep in the Master tier. So that's pretty tough for them, but don't worry, Nox didn't completely get away with it, because they ended up getting swept by Berserkers themselves. So that's week ruined. They end up being completely neutral after all of that hard work. But in all fairness, they'll feel a little bit less bad losing to Berserkers, because they're actually a team that went 8-0 this week. They also took down Montezuma Azteca. So that is a wonderful, wonderful performance for Berserkers. Montezuma still got some points out of this week with a draw versus Mistaken. Mistaken would have been elated for that, because they themselves got a sweep against Galaxy. Galaxy in a similar spot to the team just mentioned before, because they had to pick up some points themselves with a draw. Maelstrom also ended up losing their other series. That was against Tempest. Tempest went double win. 3-1 against Vortic Maelstrom and 3-1 against Firein as well. So the way that all of these matches somehow linked together is unlike anything I have seen on an RSCast before. The top tier, I've always given the GOAT status to Elite Entertainment, but Glacy's Master might change that for me with a week like that.
Yeah, we will see as we will take a look at the standings in just a moment. But first, a little bit more of a varied results week on the Ignis side, Kingsman Gas.
Yes, there was, with only 1 team going double win, and they've picked up 4 series wins so far. They keep impressing. They won preseason, and they don't look like stopping. It is Yuki getting a 3-1 win onto Zenith, who was struggling down at the bottom, and the same with Oaks, who are doing decently this week, have gave them their first series loss. However, there were 3 sweeps to look on. It was Illusion getting swept, and then Virtus picking up a 4-0 onto Heck. Very nice results for them, as Heck found themselves going double loss alongside Zenith to make themselves the 2 teams that are struggling to find form, both on 2 draws in and 2 losses now. So both really struggling to pick that up. However, in terms of draws this week, Inferno were mentioned in 2 of them, getting a very good draw against Virtus and a good draw against Bean. Both teams high up the table, so good draws there. And Abyss pulling out a very good result against Oaks.
It certainly was, and we will see what that has done to the table now as we do move in to the standings, and we're going to start on the Glacies side. Lots of draws, lots of sweeps. Pegasus, how has that affected the table?
It's made the table extremely close all round. A lot of shuffling still able to happen in the final 3 weeks, but the only teams to go double win at the end of week 2 end up being the teams that on top. And of course, we did have cross-conference in week 1, so we know that this was all friendly fire. This is fair enough. Berserkers and Tempest are on 11 and 10 wins respectively. But Kazoku with the only real poor performance from a Team Serene team this entire week, end up sitting on still 9 game wins in 3rd place alongside Mistaken. And then there's a chain of 8s, only 1 game win behind them. That's Fire In, that's Nox, that's Zeus. Then only a 2 game win gap when you go to Maelstrom, when it just staircases down for Galaxy and Montezuma. But look at that gap between 1st and 7th. There is only 3 game wins separating them. 5 if you want to even go all the way down to Maelstrom. So if a team is able to turn around their season, they don't actually have much table to fight against. There is a real chance that a team like Zeus, that a team like Nox, like Fire In, could step up and all of a sudden start topping the table if all the results go in the correct way. So Masters Glacies is definitely going to be one to look out for.
Yeah, it certainly is. But I think Masters Ignis is going to be one to look out for as well, as we take a look at the opposite conference. What is happening in our top tier in the fiery division, Kingsman?
Well, Yuki are setting the tier alight. It is 13 game wins for them, a very solid start, followed by Virtus in 2nd on 11 game wins, a good start for them too, and it's been just behind them on 10, a very close top 3. Then further down the table, you have Illusion on 9 wins, then you have Oaks on 8 wins. And now an interesting topic for thought. I don't know how many of you know this, but and I might be wrong here. Pegasus, please correct me if I am wrong. I believe this is the team with Renshiro on it, who has just flown out to SSA to play SSA RLCS.
Woo!
So
Yes, sir.
Yes,
is Renshiro continuing to play RSC-EU? That's the main question on everyone's mind. And what will this lead for Oaks in the future?
I don't know, but I know he's going to be there, and I know that he's definitely going to have some ping. Although I had a conversation about this the other day. He will definitely be... So he had to play on ping from Finland to South Africa when he was competing in Split 1. That is a lot of ping, because it is basically as far north as you can get as a Rocket League player, all the way down to SSA. With him moving to Cape Town, he should be playing on less ping than he did when he was playing in SSA last season, and he was already doing pretty darn well. So ping shouldn't be the issue for him when it comes to RSC-EU. However, time constraints, that's where I'll be interested. But Renshiro is famously a player that plays as much as possible in every single tournament possible. So definitely going to be one to look out for. I have a feeling he'll keep playing.
It's also worth mentioning we already have some South Africans playing in RSC-EU. Tweaks comes to mind. We have a couple of others in different divisions as well. So I think because of the time zone being so close, I think because of the way it's going to go, I get the feeling Renshiro will still make appearances.
Well, that is great to hear. Then, if you look down the table, it's also close with Prime, Inferno, and Abyss all on 7 wins. Then a bit of a gap for the teams that haven't managed to pick up a series win yet, in Zenith and Heck on 5 game wins, respectively.
There you go. So that is your current standings then after week 2. Let's take a look at the games coming up this week then in the Master tier. Glaciers is up first as we cross the halfway mark in the season, Pegasus. What games should we be looking out for?
Well, there's already a team that's completed their week and now waiting for the week 3 recap already. Gadalian Zeus playing both Mistaken and Berserkers this week. Berserkers are sitting right at the top of the table. Mistaken are only 1 game win away from them. However, that's apparently the gap between 4th and 7th place right now in Master. So again, literally anything could happen there. Team Serene will look to pick up their slack from this week compared to the rest of the organisation with a match versus Firein and a match versus Tempest on the very next day. Tempest actually being the team right next to them on the table right now, actually ahead of them with 1 game winner difference. Galaxy will play Montezuma. Montezuma will play again on the next day versus Maelstrom. Firein will play Berserkers, and then on the 14th, it will be Tempest versus Galaxy. That's going to be 2nd versus 9th place as it currently stands. Again, only 5 game wins between them somehow. Maelstrom will play Nox, and it looks like Nox have actually just pushed all of their games at the end of the week. That hopefully they'll be scrimming seriously in the meantime, because you will want to make sure you are on your best form. They play both Maelstrom and Mistaken. Those are 2 teams that are competitive around the same area on the table, and if Nox can get these 2 wins, they should easily be in play-ins contention and potentially even towards those playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all starting to shake up with the way that the end of the season is starting to come towards us. Put another one on the ticker. As Kingsman, talk us through what's happening with Ignis this week.
Well, we've had no games played so far, which is really interesting, to be honest. But Yuki are going double in. First against Heck, which should be a win. And then Illusion, which might give them more of a challenge because they're 4 game wins behind. Then you've got Oaks going double as well. I don't know why everyone's going double. Maybe that's due to Renshiro's limited availability. But they also play Heck in a week that Heck might have to forget. No, that wasn't me calling him out. That was literally a misspeak. I do not want any flamies. I do not. That is the worst thing I could have said.
Good luck in playoffs, buddy.
That is the worst I could have said. That is the worst. That's the worst word I could have said. Oh dear. Well, cue the memes. I'm ready for it. Then Oaks also play Inferno in a game which I think they need to win. I think a double win this week for them is very, very crucial, as they would look to push on. I think it's also a big chance for Virtus here. They play Zenith in 9th, and they also play Prime in 6th. So they can really close the gap to Yuki and Yuki above them, and push away from Bean, who might run into a bit of a challenge when they face Illusion.
Yeah, absolutely. We will see if Renshiro's limited availability affects his team going into next week. So with that done, that is the weekly review for week 2, but we still have to check out the franchise standings.
No,
I believe. I guess not. Okay, there we go. Yeah,
hey!
You know what? It's not very often that I remember something that Mal doesn't. Spoilers. So I'm going to take that one to the bank. Oh no, not spoilers, surely not. So Pegasus, you can talk us through the bottom half, top half, the bottom half. Sure, yeah. Talk us through it.
Well, first of all, it's Brave Esports and Azteca on 38 and 39 game wins respectively, but I think they've been sniped there by Unitox, who have got an extra 4 games reported. They match on 42 alongside Vortic, SCR, Shadow, and yeah, just Shadow there. Aspire do skip ahead with 43 game wins. They're unique with that win record, as Mistaken are on 44 and as are Gadalians. The Dexterity just shy away from that top half with 45 game wins in their favour. Overall, there is no positive goal differences, but you can see how it gets much closer at the top. However, I am left wondering how Vortic are on negative 50.
Wow. I actually hadn't clocked that until you brought it up. Goodness gracious. That is That is pretty impressive. But the wins are very, very close in the franchise standings, certainly on this side of the table. Only 7 wins separate 11th from 20th. So every game counts, as we like to say, as we take a look at the already spoiled top 10 franchise standings. Let's see if it's just as close at the top as it is at the bottom. I would expect it to be. Kingsman, talk us through this top half.
Yes, you've got DSQ in 10th. I don't think we're used to seeing them in the top 10. So fair play to them. They're on 47 wins. Then you've got MPB, a very good opening season for them on 48 game wins. Then it's Bro on 50, doing a one-up of MPB. Then Illusory, Nexus, Neat, all tied on 53. Then you've got Deathcloud on 56. Chrome Esports on 59, question mark. Okay, good question mark. Team Berserking on 60, and as much as Pegasus was glazing at Team Serene, it seems deserved because they are top of franchise standings with 62 wins. But the way he'd been glazing, you'd think they'd be a lot higher.
Hey, listen, Pegasus has got history, all right. It's fair enough. I understand
not
it.
this
But
good history, unfortunately.
no. Well, yeah. I just said history. I didn't say good history. But yeah, we
Okay, pass.
there you go. That's the franchise standings that we talk about. Why is Pegasus so cool? Couldn't tell you. Or something.
Skip. He isn't.
Skip. It's that's bold from a man who doesn't own a green screen. I'm just gonna throw that out there right now, Kingsman. You know,
Sorry about it.
I do.
I wasn't cool with you.
I do frequently.
Can I be bothered?
Yeah, we actually did set it. Yeah, that's a good point.
When I turn up 1 minute before, you think I can be bothered to set it all up? You are a brave man thinking that, Pegasus.
Sure.
I know for a fact you showed up 15 minutes early for the stream today.
Don't
So
expose me. No.
we are exposing Kingsman for
Kingsman
the
being on time. Never,
Kingsman was on
never.
time today, and he still didn't set up his green screen. Right, so we are going to move forward, folks, as we look forwards into week 3. We still have a couple of things that we want to talk about from week 2, and that is the clip and the fail of the week, which, as always, you guys will have the ability to vote on in chat. There will be a poll after both of these videos come up. We will watch first, though, the clip of the week. Let's see your clips of the week from week 2.
It's that time of the week again. RSC-EU's Clip of the Week, brought to you by trophi.ai. Use code RSC-EU to get 12% off Rocket League coaching for 12 months. Now, let's check out the plays.
A relatively strong clip of the week this week, I would say. A couple of nice goals in there. Pegasus, there was one specific one that you got excited about.
My prayers were answered. No defensive clip this time. Maybe a little bit later down the season. But Rapids, Repeats, whatever we want to call it. We got a team play, ladies and gentlemen. And it was incredible. So for me, easy win clip of the week. I'm not going to ask for something, get it, and then not feast on it afterwards. My plate has been filled. And I am going to leave no crumbs this time. Although JPEG, for me, an easy second place. Again, he gets himself a clip of the week every single season, despite the low tier. A triple tap off a flip reset is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, Kingsman, that's a player from your org, of course, as you are AGMing once again this season. Talk to me a little bit about JPEG. Is this just expected from him now these days?
Should have been a double reset. Come on, JPEG. We know you can do better than this.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm kidding. He's a brilliant player. It's great to have him in the tier, and well, he's clearly smashing it up. I mean, you don't see those clips very often in Academy, and I'm gonna be favoritism. I would say he was my clip of the week winner for that, because you don't see those clips in Academy often. I'm sure if you went through all those master games, you'd see enough passing plays eventually. So, there you go.
Sorry, I'm just watching the ticker at the bottom of the screen, and you should be as well. But yeah, we are just about to close down this vote here for clip of the week. It looks like it is going to go the way of Rapidza, but big shout out to JPEG for that incredible clip as well, and we will get to see all of them once again. But that has confirmed it. Your clip of the week for week 2 of RSCast is Rapidza. Congratulations. Let's take a look at all those clips once again, and of course your clip of the week from Rapidza.
It's that time of the week again. RSC-eu's clip of the week, brought to you by trophi.ai. Use code RSC-eu to get 12% off Rocket League coaching for 12 months. Now, let's check out the plays.
Congratulations, Rapidza, for clip of the week for week 2. But gents, let's be honest, the clips were good last week, and they are good once again this week. However, in our next category, the clips were poor last week. We had not great fails coming through from the people in week 1. And I want to see an improvement. So let's move ahead then into the fails of the week for week 2. Let's see an improvement.
And now we have RSC-eu's Fail of the Week, brought to you by trophi.ai. Haha, well, if you're on the video this week, you should probably go and buy yourself some coaching under code RSC-eu.
You know what? Yeah, okay. I'm relatively satisfied there. So certainly more fails at least, and certainly from a specific organization, Pegasus.
So someone's poisoned the organization soup for Vortic there. Everyone seemingly having some kind of poisoning. last week
Yeah.
because it was almost all of their tiers somehow having a submission. But one really stepped up to me. They've called themselves King Mimi on Twitch. And for me, they will be crowned a fail of the week winner this time. That first miss alone already had my vote, by the way, because that was egregious. And then the second clip thereafter, I saw there wasn't another title screen, and I was like, yeah, if that hadn't already secured it for me, the fact that there even is a second clip, it didn't even matter necessarily what was going to happen there. Mimi was going to win that for me.
Yeah, Kingsman, it reminds me a little bit of Cody Gakpo saving the ball right on the goal line last Monday, right? Gets his foot high over the top of the bar, 1 yard out. I mean, it's impressive, isn't it?
Does this just come with people with King in the name? Is that like, are you bound to fail of the week if you've got King in your name? I mean, he's following on from the great in me. I mean, I'm surprised I haven't appeared on one of these yet, just randomly. But no, yeah, you got to be scoring those. Come on. I've watched enough Bristol Rovers to know that even you got those you got to be scoring. Even Bristol Rovers players would be scoring those. Come on now, got to be locked in. But yeah, some of the others I think were more unlucky than proper fails. I think Mimi probably takes the cake for lack of skill this week, shall we say?
Wow. Wow, I mean, yeah, I don't think anyone else even got... Oh, no, Dote had a few votes. All right, Dote had 3 votes, but by a landslide and without any surprise, your winner of Fail of the Week is Mimi. And I think we need to remind ourselves of exactly what caused them to take home that victory. So let's watch all those fails one more time.
And now we have RSC-eu's Fail of the Week, brought to you by trophi.ai. Haha, well, if you're on the video this week, you should probably go and buy yourself some coaching under code RSC-eu.
There you go, then, your fails of the week. Pegasus, please, we did this last week. We got given what we wanted from last week, so clearly the people are listening. What do you want to see next week in clip or fail of the week?
Okay, I want...
Set the people a challenge.
I want one of 2 goals here.
Okay.
I still want my defensive goal. That will stay on my docket every single week. I don't care if it's utter woke nonsense. I want that.
Defensive
goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, a defensive clip. My bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we did actually see a defensive goal. We saw a post pinch in week 1, in all fairness.
We did. It's true.
Not quite what I'm talking about here, but that definitely would do for me. I want to see one of either a Yujin or a Joyo, and that's what I'm calling insta-flipping off the sidewall to get your second touch off the ceiling and do whatever you want with it. Or a Joyo, and I'm talking about Moist Esports versus Falcons, grand final, post-bracket reset, hit it off the ground, hit it a second time, get a little bit creative. Smashy was able to pull it off, I think it was last season, and I want to say Jaku was able to at some point as well. Those are going to be my bounties for this upcoming week.
Fair enough. Kingsman Gas, will you be claiming any of those bounties this week? Do you have it in the locker?
Yeah, very, very funny. Very funny. I think there's a better chance of JPEG hitting them than me. and we're completely different tiers. I'd put more money on JPEG hitting them.
That's
than
fair,
me.
to be fair.
Maybe if one of those
JPEG
challenges
does do
was an
that.
open net, I'd have a 50-50 chance. But nah, I don't think it's going to be me. And again, Mal, we can skip past this section because we all know that I'm not cool either. We're not cool.
No,
we're doing a Rocket League podcast, you know.
We are.
Yeah, come on now.
Yeah, and again, just outing just SSAing as well. By the way, with that line, thank you very much to Pegasus. We enjoy that. By the way, we have got a response from the just SSAing crew. But you guys will need to watch their episode on Monday to see what their actual public response
Next week,
is. So
boring.
make sure you listen. I told them that. I told them that, but they said they said that you're gonna need to wait. So go to just SSAing. I believe it's on the rsc_SSA channel. So make sure you head over there. Actually, no, I don't think it is. I think it's on Greybeard's channel these days. So Greybeard GG. Oh my goodness, that's really bad. I don't know that off the top of my head. Apologies, but yeah, search Greybeard. You'll see it. 5 p.m. GMT, 6 p.m. CET on Monday. But we will move on then. Our last order of business of RSCast is to do our weekly awards. This is where we give out awards to everybody involved in RSC who performs the best in certain categories. And we will start, as we always do, in Academy tier. And let's take a look at who earned weekly awards in Academy this week. And I am going to start with Sir Pegasus.
Okay, start off, we've got 2 Team Serene names. Not going to be a Team Serene sweep. Already going to throw that one out the window. But to start off with an MVP from Dave for Rave 692, the only player in Academy to get over 500 points per game with a crisp 520. Your finisher is going to be Team Serene's Arai with 1.63 goals per game, actually matching that of Krolex 5666 and Jazz, who are also your silver and bronze in MVP as well. So this was completely by shooting percentage to decide this tiebreaker. That being said, you can see that Arai actually did score high on the shooting percentage, managing to get themselves bronze with 50%. Cannabill follows in silver with a 52.94%, and then that's rounded off by Gav with just over 57% shooting percentage. But that wasn't their only impact high up the pitch, because they also managed to get themselves 1.13 assists per game, so they will be taking your playmaker accolade. That's followed by Jazz and Masters with a 1.0 assist per game. And finally, your saviour, it's SCR's Dazzler with 2.25, not the only player to be over 2 per game, because Lorio managed to get themselves 2.13 as well.
Yeah, great work. Congratulations if you see your name on this board. Especially shout out to Team Serene. 2 players with a gold medal each to their name in Academy. Let's take a look then at Prospect. Let's move up to the next tier. Look at the players of the week for Prospect, and Kingsman Gas will be walking us through all of the awards from MVP right the way through to Saviour. Oh, he's back!
Yeah,
the best name in RSC is back.
Oh,
come on.
Goodness. Francis is your MVP with 500 and you know what? I'll give it to the people what they want. Francis Olajide. Oh no, I've butchered it already.
Try again. Come on.
No.
You can do it.
Francis Olajide. I can't say it. I don't know. It's just
Olajide BT.
Olajide BT.
Got it.
Francis Olajide.
There we go.
Nice.
Go.
Oh my
yes, nailed it. There we go.
Nightmare. Eventually, this is why I don't say difficult names, guys. Like I just sit here for 3 times. I'm thinking, wait, how do I say that? But he's followed by Jason Carmi, 2.25 goals per game. He's also your striker on 64% shooting percentage, and he gets the silver in the MVP. A very good week for Jason. Then we can see where the goals were coming from. It is Mercury passing those balls in with 1.38 assists per game. Then Sensor, who I believe finds himself now on the FA list with 2.38 saves per game.
There you go. Absolutely. And we are going to shout out once again Francis Olajide BT, because a gold, a silver, and a bronze across the players of the week here for Prospect is pretty impressive, certainly. And Roma as well, getting himself 2 silvers. Got to give a shout out as well. Let's move up to the next tier then. We will take a look at Challenger tier. And let's see what the players of the week from Chally had to say. And Sir Pegasus, walk us through it.
Starts off with your MVP. It's Chrome Esports' Panda himself with just shy of 560. Has finisher as well in gold. Has striker as well with 55.56%.
Oh
no! Hamish will take the playmaker. Panda himself not even mentioned there, and I imagine not going to be mentioned for Saviour. But still, a wonderful 3 in a row for Panda with quite a fair distance for every single one of them. 560 for points per game, as I mentioned before. 2.5 goals per game compared to 1.75 in silver from Next Fox. And then finally getting that 55.56% shooting percentage for many goals. So we know that this one is not a fraud. Rox is in silver with 50%. Killer Goose just shy of that 50% mark. But finally, the ruiners for Panda himself, it's Hamish, Killer Goose, and D Smiles taking your playmaker accolade. That's 1.25 for Hamish, 1.13 for Killer Goose, and 1.13 for D Smiles. And finally, your saviour of the week here in Challenger is Yak, just joining, I believe, Mushy P Brains with a 2.38 saves per game. Muro follows on with 2.25, and then it's rounded off by Lucas with 2.13.
Yeah, there you go. Can we all agree that if Panda himself is not in the team of the week for Chally, then it's rigged? I think we probably can with 3 gold medals.
I agree.
That's fair. That is fair.
See if that one comes through a little bit later on. Moving beyond that halfway mark, then up into Rival. Let's see who the players of the week in Rival were. We'll see if we can get another almost sweep. If someone can get more than 3 gold medals. I don't think it will be, though. Nah, it's immediately veiled. But Kingsman Gas, talk us through who was good last week in Rival.
Ben Oman was your MVP, also your playmaker as well, beating Friday on time. Hey, he's got 3. You wrote him off. You guys wrote him off before it was too soon.
I wrote him off.
Ben Oman also picks up 3 gold medals in MVP, playmaker, and saviour. No tiebreaker needed in saviour. The others to pick up. It was almost a Team Stream full house as well. Johnny Greenbean picking up 2nd in the finisher. Jo, though, from Death Cloud will be your finisher, 1.63 goals per game. Johnny Greenbean, 57% shooting, with Ben Oldman beating Friday on a tiebreaker and getting 0.5 per game saves more than anyone else.
There you go. I profusely apologise to Ben Oldman for writing you off right from the start. Good stuff for getting a couple of gold medals over the line there, but Jo and Johnny Greenbean getting some work done as well. Moving up to our second highest tier, we take a look at the Elite tier. And as we do, Sir Pegasus is going to walk us through MVP to Saviour, who got the awards for Week 2 in Elite. Oh
my.
Oh. He couldn't, could he? Oh. Yeah, Pegasus has got himself muted again. So
okay, great.
We'll wait for him to unmute himself.
Or he's gone.
I believe
completely.
in him.
Oh my gosh.
He could.
Oh my gosh.
There he is.
Oh my gosh. I was going so hype, and the only person who knows that is Mal, who was adding me in the Discord. I was getting so hyped, man. Combat gets 3 golds, and as I was saying to myself and myself only, maybe also the plushies on my bed, Combat also picked up a silver in Saviour, so was almost mentioned in all 5 accolades, but secures himself that MVP just over Liam, who was on 530. Combat was on 535. Relu, though, still being above that 500 points per game mark. Sometimes we will only see one player who's able to pull that off. Combat also getting 1.63 goals per game. That's followed by Rico on 1.5 and Liam on that very same record. And I must say, overall, looks like Liam and Rico have somewhat been snubbed by the amazing performance that Combat was able to have this week, because Rico's mentioned again here in silver, but it was by quite some way. 61.9% for combat, with an immediate 11%, actually closer to 12% drop for Rico and Drizzy. And our playmaker is DSQ's Liam with 1.5 assists per game, followed by two players that had to go through a tiebreaker, Chaos Shadow on 1.13 and Rev also on that very same mark. And then finally, your saviour accolade 3.0 for Relo of DSQ. Also was bronze for MVP. It's not very often that you see clearly a player who dominated more on the defensive stats getting so high in that initial accolade. But that is followed by Combat on 2.63 and Lumi on 2.5. That's all saves per games that usually could get you in gold.
Pegasus and getting excited about defensive players. Name a better duo. You simply cannot. As we move forwards then into the Master Tier Players of the Week, who was earning themselves some weekly awards for week 2 in Master Kingsman Gas.
Oh, it's the man we talked about earlier. It was Ren Shiro with 538 points per game. Mimical comes in second and gets first for your finisher with 1.88 goals per game. And then it is Alanis, your striker, 66% shooting. Then Zyfez, 1.63. We can see where Mimical's goals were coming from. And then your saviour right at the end is JP, 2.63, beats out Usyk. But I was about to say we have all different franchises for once, but no, Zyfez and Mimical teaming up there. Mimical also getting a silver in the finisher. But apart from that, and obviously Renshiro appearing across that, we've got a lot of spread between players that show up on Players of the Week this week, which is nice to see compared to the other tiers.
Yeah, certainly. It's always good to get a little bit of a difference from different players, and obviously 5 different players appearing on our screens, even if they're not all from different franchises. So nice work from everybody in the Master Tier, but let's see what that did to the Team of the Week then. Who were the top performers in their respective tiers in week 2? Let's ask myself to find out. RSC-EU's Team of the Week, brought to you by SpartanWare, home of the official RSC-EU merch store. Yeah, well, I said if it wasn't Panda, it was rigged, so I'm going to have to stand on business, unfortunately, even if he apparently only played one game. But there you go, your Team of the Week for week number 2. Krolex in Prospect. Academy, sorry. Then Papa Sparta in Prospect. We've then got Chally, represented by Next Fox, Benelman in Rival, April in Elite, and Mimical in Master. Not too many things we can say to disagree with any of those picks, really, to be honest. And Pegasus, you especially were talking about Next Fox having played him basically yesterday, and how much quality he brought to the server.
Next Fox is unbelievable. Yeah, scored 7 goals against us, and I believe Mal told me that was 2 more than everyone else in the lobby combined. So yeah, I got completely dismantled by Next Fox last night. Although I would say that I do actually believe Mal played unbelievably well for what is being apparently considered a sub game. I think that's kind of crazy. But also nice to see Benelman pick that up for Shinjiro. I think it was quite obvious with the stats that this was going to be one of those contenders for Team of the Week with 3 out of those 5. This was, I would like to remind everyone, I believe someone that Rhino didn't believe in. Well, here he is now on the Team of the Week graphic. Also, I like to see April as well in the lane. That's just a former Team Serene player from even when I was managing.
Nah, don't make that. Don't make that voice, because that's just going to make me feel even older than I already am. Oh, goodness gracious. Kingsman, bring some youthful energy to the proceedings, please. What would you like to say about the Team of the Week this week?
Well, should we just say the weekly awards are very misleading in this case?
Mm-hmm.
And don't relate, for those of you that are confused like I was. It's based off of completely different things. But it is nice to see variety across Team of the Week and weekly awards, because it would be a bit boring if we saw the same people winning 3 awards and then the same people winning Team of the Week as well. It's nice to have some spice thrown in the mix. And I think there's only one player in there I don't actually recognize in Crowlex. So maybe he's one for me to keep an eye on later, but it's nice to see some new players featuring.
If any of you believe for a second that Kingsman Gas is going to watch any Academy games, then you are dizzy. Absolutely dizzy.
Whoa. Put some respect on my name. I watch Academy, thank you.
Yeah, maybe your own org.
No, not just.
Wow.
The Academy Twitch channel is doing some good streams. I tune in every once in a while. So
fair play.
Give them some views, absolutely. Speaking of giving views to things, let's quickly discuss what's been happening with TGMR. A lot of you may be confused about what those 4 letters stand for, but they stand for the Great Minecraft Race, which took place on the previous weekend just gone. And Kingsman is clearly unhappy with me plugging my own event, but I don't care. We're going to do it anyway, and I didn't even choose to do this. So,
charity.
It's for charity. So the Great Minecraft Race is a 24-hour charity event that I host every year, and it is basically people. Yeah, you know what? You don't need to be here for this bit. Basically, people come in, they participate, and they try to earn as many advancements in the game of Minecraft as possible. This year, myself and Sir Pegasus hosted for the full 24 hours, and it is all in aid of 3 charities across the world. We've got Humanity First UK, we've got Project Flamingo in South Africa, and we've got the Mental Health Collaborative in North America. So that's absolutely the right thing to do. You can donate to the TGMR fundraiser just over there. We are still raising some money, and I have also had word that there may be another incentive for us to get and record and do a stream for in a week's time. Next Wednesday night, you'll want to look out for it. And yes, I will absolutely talk about it on this RScast if we get the chance next week. But if you would like to go and donate to the Great Minecraft Race, we'd really appreciate it. Please go ahead over there. And absolutely, I'm just going to hit that button there. So, you know what? We can stop the self-indulgence now, Mal. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. We can bring Kingsman Gas back because we're not talking about charity anymore. We're talking about things he actually cares about. Kingsman, it's been a big week here in RSC. We are closer and closer to play-ins and playoffs. Are you worried? Are you nervous? How are you feeling about your org overall?
Yeah, good. There's still half the season to go. If you want to look at it like this, anything can happen. I don't think any team, apart from Elite Brave, is completely out of the question yet. So, yeah, wait, before we go, did you know the season's 5 weeks long? No, did you know it's changed from 5 weeks?
Did you know?
It's now 5 weeks compared to 9, Mal. Wow, that is...
Can't believe it.
But I'm not worried at all. I think all my teams have the ability to bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. Pegasus, we're going to shut this one down, but before we go, anything you want to bring up about RSC this season? Any maybe quotes about our producer that you want to make after yesterday's game?
No, I'll let him have this. I'll let him have this. I mean, I can't say anything. I was the worst player on the pitch. It wasn't even close. So I'm actually going to stay quiet this time about that. However, as per usual, RSC does plan to have more streams on this Twitch channel. It's not just RSCast, although we do hope to be returning next week and keep that consistency going that we've managed to maintain so far.
Yeah.
But of course, matches for league play where every match is so pivotal in a 5-week season. You need to keep tabs. You need to follow the Twitch channel. You need to follow the Twitter. Make sure you have notifications on for both, and you will not miss any of the action. You might have some prerequisites or some information for us during these RS casts. We always do appreciate when those in chat do help fill in some of the gaps that we may not have been able to see. Because remember, we have to somehow give you all 6 tiers worth of information. Yeah. If you watched a game or two, you likely know those games a lot better than we do. So thank you very much to all of those that watch.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. And we hope that you keep watching. Make sure that you stay tuned into rsc_eu. Make sure you follow us and watch all of the games that we have later on this week right here on this very Twitch channel. Thank you very much to our sponsors, Badass Studios, SpartanWare, and trophi.ai. And of course, if you're buying anything on the Epic Store, make sure you use creator code RSC-EU. It all supports our wonderful league. So with that said, As we said right at the start, we're going to bring it full circle. The most consistent podcast related to RSC that is in the world. And yes, I'm doubling down. Just SSAing. I'm talking to you directly now. Monday, I want to hear an answer. Is the game happening? Can we do it in the off season? Because I think it would be a laugh. You guys have got to find a high-ranked player. Good luck with that. But we'll see if they're able to do it. And from all of us here on RSCast, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Mal, for pressing all the buttons behind the scenes and making sure everything ran as smoothly as he could possibly make it run. And we will see you all next week for some more for some more RSCast. Take care. We'll see you there.
This is trophi.ai, an AI Rocket League coach, and it's absolutely crazy what you can do with this. If you've ever heard of ballchasing.com, it's a lot like that, but on steroids.
I can press P and a pro demo will come up, and this is what's so cool and so unique about Trophi, is that this is not seen anywhere else, and it's just a great way to kind of show you how to do a training pack without having to side by side watch a YouTube video.
And this is actually really cool. Training paths. So you basically, you know the skill trees from Assassin's Creed, Spider-Man, Sekiro, you know that sort of games where you have to, get skill points, use them, you unlock new skills. This is sort of very similar, but instead of actually getting skill points, you're actually doing the mechs. And also a cool feature as well, guys, watch this. You can slow it down. You can actually slow-mo it like this. So if you're really struggling, what you need to do, you can actually look for yourself and just have a look at the exact movements that you're doing there. Look, it's really cool. I really like it. And
alongside helping with mechanics, it also has a feature that analyzes any of your saved replays. That way you can see what you're doing well and what you need to improve on. It even has this cool post-game analysis that you can see stats from the game you just played.
This isn't just merch. It's what teams wear when they mean business. Every stitch, every print, every detail, made to perform. Trusted by the grind, from grassroots to championship halls. Build your team store. Wear the brand that wins. SpartanWare, trusted by the grind.